have people waiting.
All right. And we are live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Have More Than Money. As you guys could probably tell, today we are going to be talking about USA suppliers. So, how we do it, the benefits of it. On paper, I think it's kind of straightforward why drop shipping from a United States warehouse, a United States company overall is better than any, outsourcing to other countries. So Jared, if you want to introduce, see if there's anything you want to start off with.
Yeah. The truth is that if you are selling from China, then you're probably making a mistake. To drop ship from China is just not the answer. Mike, it seems like you were buffering.
I think we're goody, right? No.
Yeah, we got one person watching. If you're in this, say something.
We appreciate you. Listen, so just going back to the main issues, and these are issues that we're talking from experience. It's not like hypothetical, like theoretical issues that maybe we think are around with drop shipping from China. Our biggest issues were, one, the garbage products. The quality of product, if it's made overseas, isn't going to be good as compared to a United States manufacturer. I think that should be common sense. And the second thing is the lead times, which is huge. So, imagine customers waiting 30 days to get their product and then finally getting it, and it's a piece of plastic that breaks in a couple of weeks. I think that's kind of the fundamental issues with using exterior, out of the country manufacturers.
Yeah, honestly, the thing is when it comes to Chinese suppliers is, one, the products are going to take too long to ship. That's first of all. Second of all, you're most likely going to be selling low margin plastic that people don't actually need. And third of all is, well, actually, I kind of said them both. Is that the margins are the key, guys. When it comes to being successful online, high margins is the key to success. And it's a very simple reason as to why. The reason is that when you sell a product using advertising, you need margins to allow you to profit. Profit is king. Cash flow is king. The old saying, cash is king. That's absolutely incorrect. Cash flow is king. The only reason any business closes down is because of lack of cash flow. So when it comes to, having big margins, with me and Mike's store, we will run, $200-$300 a day in advertising. And even if we make one sale, sometimes one of our sales can profit $1,000, $2,000. Sometimes we'll run $200 to $300 in advertising and make 4 sales and profit, $7K on the day. Other times we might not even make a sale, but obviously the days where we do make sales, we're still profitable because the margins are so big. So, when you're selling from China, chances are is, one, you're selling plastic, nobody wants it, nobody needs it. 2, the margins are probably bad. And last but not least, the shipping times are probably too slow.
Yeah, and here's another, just inside scoop for you. When it comes to closing these United States manufacturers, you'll come across one or two who actually manufacture in China. And so they'll manufacture in China, they'll order, a crap ton of inventory, ship it overseas, and, warehouse it in the States. And so for those kind of manufacturers, because I do have one of those suppliers who do indeed do that, and their products are good. But that's the thing, is that, since they're a United States brand, their quality control is through the roof. So yes, they manufacture in China, but a lot of the, Alibaba, AliExpress suppliers, they don't have any kind of quality control. Whereas, if you're really trying to make it as a manufacturer in the States, you got to be top line. You don't have to be, but word gets out very easily, and people will know very shortly if they manufacture like garbage products. And so there's kind of just a higher level to it when a higher standard that these manufacturers have to hold themselves to if they are a brand in the States. So I think you guys get the point of what we're saying in terms of the quicker lead times, the better products. Let's dive into how we find these manufacturers. And so a lot of our students know we put out other content. Our favorite place to start for beginners is Wayfair. And there's a whole lot of stuff going on with Wayfair right now, and we're gonna see how it pans out. But maybe we'll talk about that later. But Jared, what's your favorite method of finding suppliers? High ticket USA suppliers.
Yeah. So, I mean, first I wanted to just touch on, why the high ticket model is the best model. And that being is that, simple marketing 101, right? Is that you sell people on a product from two reasons, right? Either pain or pleasure, right? Those are the two reasons why people buy anything. Like I said, I'll say it again, pain or pleasure. When you're selling these high ticket products, you're selling the pain. And pain is what really gets people to buy. Yeah, everyone likes to buy things for pleasure. But think about it like this. What's more valuable to you? Something you want or something you need, right? The stuff that me and Mike sell, people buy it because they genuinely need it. They don't buy it because they want it. So when you're doing that low ticket model, you're always trying to pull people in on pleasure, and ultimately you're just not going to sell at as high of a rate. So yeah, what we do, how we find suppliers, and yeah, obviously Wayfair is having its own little conspiracy theories. You guys can feel free to put your opinions on that in the chat box. But how we find suppliers is we simply go onto Wayfair or Google or Walmart or even Amazon, and we type in product types. And simply what we'll do is we'll sort by brand and we'll sort by price. So we'll look for products that are at least $1,000, right? And the reason why we look for $1,000 is because naturally the more expensive the product is, the more profit potential. So obviously, if you're selling a product that's $20, even if your margin is 99%, you're still only making $19.99. If we sell a product for $1,000 and our margin is only 20%, we're still profiting $200. So that's why the first thing we look for when we go onto Wayfair or Google or any of the other big box retailers is we sort by price. Because guys like me and Mike, we don't even want to waste our time with products that are $100, $200, or anything below $500. I'll tell you guys that I've had success in the past with low ticket. On one of my high ticket dropshipping stores, I created an entire catalog of low ticket products. And even when you find success with that, it just creates so much more of a headache, I remember I was looking at Mike's store, which only had high ticket products, and I was like envious of him. Even though my sales were doing so much more, it was like I had all these headaches, all these issues. I kind of just wish that I stayed only high ticket. And that's really the best advice I give to people these days is keep everything high margins. From me and Mike's experience, 5 years of doing e-commerce, almost every time we tried to do anything regarding low margins, we struggled. And almost every time we did it regarding high margins, big ticket, I'm not going to say we've succeeded, but our chances of success were greatly improved.
Yeah, I would say that we succeeded when it came to the high ticket for sure, but I'm glad that you pointed out before how, this is something that we've talked about, and it's a very, very common misconception that, it's so hard to sell expensive products, and it's so easy to sell $100 products. And, while it may be easier to convince someone who isn't searching for a product to buy something cheap, if people are searching for an expensive product, there's a good chance they're going to buy it. And, another insight that I want to give is majority of our advertisements are targeted to the top 10% of income, of household incomes. So I'll say that again, our advertisements are the main demographic, majority of the time is for top 10% of household income. So obviously, not only do we have people looking for these expensive products, but we also have people with a lot of money looking for these expensive products. And so it's kind of just like, it's like, I'm trying to think, I guess I'll use the word home run. I don't know. It's you knock it out of the park when you do that, especially when you have, a really good supplier with a good reputation. And, yes, we use Wayfair. Some of our best suppliers are on Wayfair if you look deep enough. But Wayfair is definitely not the only method that we use. A lot of times you have to think outside of the box. And, I mentioned on the last live stream that currently one of my best suppliers isn't on Wayfair. And I found them because, my aunt suggested them to me at on a Sunday family dinner. And so, things like that, when you're always thinking and, you have that like business entrepreneur mindset, it's almost like the product type idea and the suppliers will find you in a sense. There's the famous expression or the famous saying, you won't notice all the red cars until, you get a red car. And then from then forward, you'll see more red cars. But it's not that the red cars are, you're seeing more red cars, just that you're noticing it because you're almost looking for it. And so, when you have this, my comparison, when you have this entrepreneur mindset, you're focusing on business things and, great things that when something comes along that you wouldn't have noticed if you didn't put yourself in that mindset position. And I hope that makes sense, Jared. I mean, you can tell me.
I mean, honestly, it's like the same thing. Like exactly what like you said. If you buy a car, then chances are you'll notice every time you see that car on the road where, before you had that car, you've probably seen it just as many times. You just never noticed it. So, I mean, yeah, it's a perfect analogy. And, it really is exactly how it is for us. At this point, when me and Mike walk around, if we go to a party in a backyard, we'll look at every brand of every product. If I'm in someone's house, I will literally look at everything. I like I said in one of the last live streams, I have one of my stores is in the gym niche, the fitness niche, and I literally walked around the gym just writing down the names of all the brands in the entire LA Fitness. That's not something anyone else in LA Fitness was doing. Everyone else was there putting iron, and I was there taking notes on my phone. But, I mean, what he's getting at is that when it comes to finding suppliers, once you start, you start seeing things that you would have never found. And the truth is, a lot of people that join our program, they start on, the most shallow level possible, and the truth is the deeper you dig, the better likely you find gold, right? So like, for instance, almost every store that I've been a part of, the first 3 to 5 suppliers that the people launched, they really weren't that great because in the end of the day, like I said, you have to dig deep to find gold. So if you launch 3 to 5 suppliers, one, the really good suppliers don't always work with brand new stores. So that's first of all. Second of all, you probably just haven't dug deep enough, Like I see Abdallah's question, do suppliers play hard to get? When you're first getting started, they can play a little hard to get, but once you have a real store and you're really successful, not only do they play easier because they want to work with you because you're making money and you can prove that to them, but you're just more confident in yourself. And, that's a big turning point. So, regarding all that, the point I was getting at was that, as Mike said, there's more ways to find suppliers other than Wayfair. At this point, I'll find one supplier and what I'll do is I'll Google them, right? Because once you Google them, then you can see who's selling that supplier on Google. Chances are you might see 3 retailers, you might see 5, you might see 10. Now, one of the tips that me and Mike say is never try to really close a supplier that's working with over 10 retailers. Why? Because you're just going to waste money on ads trying to get to the top of Google when you'll almost never get to the top competing with that many people. But if you find 10 retailers, what you can do is you can look at each one of those retailers and pretty much take all of their brands and put it on your own list. Now you'll have a list of like 300 plus suppliers, and I'm sure some of those are only going to be getting sold by 1 or 2 people. And next thing you know, you have your real winner. And that's really how it starts for us. We start with literally just one supplier, Google that supplier, see who else is selling it, and then literally just steal all of those people's suppliers. And the word that we use is pillage.
Exactly.
Just pillage other people's stores. And like I said, all it starts is with one. Because like I said, once you find that one supplier and Google that one supplier, then next thing you know, you're going to find an entire store that might have 50 suppliers, it might have 100 suppliers. Who even knows?
Yeah, when you say it like that, Jared, it reminds me of the phrase, rabbit hole. So many people I see on social media be like, oh yeah, I was on Instagram or I was on Twitter or TikTok or whatever, and I just went down a rabbit hole. And it's like you keep clicking on videos, you find a video and you click through it. And so exactly what Jared just said, we'll start with one supplier. We'll find 10 retailers selling their product. We'll click into one retailer, pillage it. We'll find a supplier, search it in Google again, keep going, and you keep going and going until, next thing you know, your Excel sheet of suppliers is, 60 columns deep, and you're like, wow, like I'm ready to get calling. And I think that's another misconception for anyone watching. We're not going on Wayfair, finding suppliers, and copying and pasting the descriptions. How people do that for AliExpress. When it comes to high ticket, there's a much higher barrier of entry, and that's something that we love. No Joe Schmo can wake up in the morning and be like, oh, I'm just gonna start a high ticket dropshipping store. Let me go on Shopify, copy and paste some descriptions. Like, one, you need a business, you get an LLC business, and 2, you need to be pretty good at sales. Like Abdallah said in that first question is, do they play hard to get? A lot of the time, sometimes some will, some won't. Some suppliers have their own higher barrier to entry, which we can really appreciate. You don't really want to just work with a supplier who will let anyone sell their stuff. And two, going back to what I was saying is, when it comes to being a good salesperson, is you have to convince that brand, that manufacturer, that supplier to let you sell their products. And I think that we're going to get into a little bit later on selling tips, but being a good salesman is a personality trait that really will never let you down, whatever path you want to follow.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, guys, is like the barrier to entry is the key. Like, what we teach is the path to building a real business that can be sustainable for years to come. Like a lot of the business models that are being taught online today are teaching people how to make money today and then die tomorrow. Like the beautiful part is, once you get in with a supplier, that supplier may not be taking new dealers, 3 months from now, 4 months from now. You may, a lot of the time it's the perfect combination of timing and just, it's just a perfect combination of everything. Like I work with suppliers that, literally aren't even taking new dealers at the moment. And that's the beautiful thing, is that I don't need to worry about someone coming in and stealing my products, as long as they're doing that. Because, for all we know, they could change their mind tomorrow and start taking new dealers. But for the time being, I don't have to worry about anyone stealing my products, anyone really competing with me, because like I said, they're not even taking new dealers. We actually sold them out of pretty much everything. They don't even have anything in stock at this point. But I mean, that's the beautiful part, guys, is that it's being and pasting from Wayfair or Google or AliExpress, really finding a supplier, calling them, getting in touch with a rep at that company, and literally developing a long-term, relationship that should hopefully last for years to come.
And I'm glad
Mike.
Yeah, no, you buffered, but I think your volume still was good, so we'll just continue on. I'm glad you used the word relationship, because this is something that we've talked about in previous live streams, and exactly what we're doing is we're building relationships with these companies, and that's it. That those relationships in and of itself is so valuable. I've worked with so many suppliers who have told me, if you ever need a job recommendation, like let me know. And obviously I won't ever need a job recommendation, but it does feel good to know that I created such a good relationship with these suppliers that they would stick their neck out for me. And we've said before, most of my best suppliers, I have their phone numbers, and I text them on the weekends. We'll talk about some big sales that we have and stuff like that. And that real relationship, that connection, I think it goes beyond business in a sense. And I don't mean to sound like corny in that kind of way, but I guess that's more of a personality thing, where I enjoy connecting and learning with people no matter what. And I was watching a video, someone was talking about Robert Downey Jr. and he said, no matter how boring a person may seem, I'm still intrigued by what they have to say, because I love human connection. And I think I kind of feel that in a way, and I'm trying to tie this into these supplier relationships, hearing their story. And I've really grown in my time of doing high ticket dropshipping with a lot of these suppliers. My first ever high ticket dropshipping sale, to this day, I still work with them, and like I said, I'm like, I consider myself friends with my rep over there, which is pretty cool in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing that people don't even take into account is like, me and Mikey are, we're 22-year-old guys, and we're calling some of these suppliers, and some of them are big time companies, and sometimes you talk to the big dog at that company. At this point, I've developed a real relationship with the CEO of one of my biggest suppliers. This is a company that does over $40 million a year in sales, and I'm on the phone regularly with the CEO. It's like, think about what that does for you as a person, your character, how much it takes you on your career. Like, you're actually communicating with someone at that high of a level. What do you think that's going to do for you? It's just going to change your mind. You're going to understand how someone like that thinks. You're going to understand how to almost become that yourself, how to grow your company to that level. So, I mean, there's so many layers to this, guys. One thing is that, when you develop a good relationship with these suppliers, they actually want to do well by you. And, that will help you down the road too. Like, one example I can give you guys is, I have this one supplier that I work with, and when their products are in stock, there's so many people trying to sell it, right? But when they're out of stock, there's really no one trying to sell it. And one of the best things that ever happened to me was me and this guy were such good friends. I called him regularly for whatever reason. We just had a good connection. And he took the time to call me. He was like, look, this product's going to be back in stock in a week and a half. Nobody knows. Start running your advertising now, and you might be able to sell them out before they even come back in stock. And that's exactly what we did. And over the next 2 weeks, we literally sold, I want to say like well over $100,000 worth of product, and literally sold the entire inventory out of stock before anyone else was even able to get their hands on a single one of them. And that's just one of the great things that can happen when you actually develop good relationships with these suppliers. And like I said, it can turn into multi-million-dollar partnerships. At this point, our partnerships have created over $7 million in sales. And I mean, guys, like I said, this business is not something that's going to make you money today and die tomorrow. This is something that can ultimately make you financially free for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned early in what you just said, character, and building character is something that a lot of people struggle with, and I think that stems from not putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. And you're never going to grow as a person if you're always complacent and you're always afraid of the unknown. And that's something that I learned very quickly when it came to the high ticket game is, like I've said before, I had my high ticket store up and running in like my demo site in like a week or two. And I started calling suppliers, and I vividly remember the first time calling a supplier. I was like, hi, my name is Michael, and I was looking to become a retailer, and I was like literally like shivering with my words. And I consider myself a good salesperson, in general. And so having that fear when it came to calling my first supplier it's something that, it sucked in the moment, but looking back, I can reflect and say, this helped me grow as a person. And, if there's anything that's going to help you grow, it's rejection. And so, there's always two ways to look at it. At rejection, you can look at it as a failure, or you can learn from it. And, I did exactly that. And over time, I kind of, the more phone calls I made, I realized that it really was all about confidence and portraying that confidence. So, the person on the other line can hear it through the phone. Like, wow, this guy he knows what he's talking about. Like, I believe in him just from this conversation. I'm going to let him sign on as a retailer. And like I said, if there's any tip I can give to anyone selling anything or trying to sell someone on what they do, it's confidence. So, I always tell our students that confidence is key, and it will always remain key even beyond sales.
Yeah, I mean, that's really it, guys. I mean, you're selling these suppliers, back to the first question, do they play hard to get? It really comes down to your sales pitch when you call them. When I call them, I literally say, I mean, obviously, if you're a beginner, you can't say this, but I literally say, my name is Jared. I own an e-commerce company. Collectively, we own 6 websites and do well over $5 million a year in sales. We work with brands similarly, and I'll even say, we do these numbers with them. We can do the same for you guys. Here's our plan. Here's how we're going to do it. Let's move forward. And, if they have a drop shipping program, they always say yes, right? I never had anyone that offers drop shipping really tell me no. But yes, unfortunately, there are suppliers that, not that they work with offline stores. Every supplier at this point knows their products need to be sold online. That's not a question anymore. No longer does anyone do only brick and mortar, but there are suppliers that will only work with people that warehouse the products. So, some of these suppliers will say, yeah, I mean, unless you're going to buy $200,000 up front, then I'm not interested. And of course, we're drop shippers. So at that point, we have to say, all right, then we can't work together. But, I'll tell them straight up. I'll say, look, I drop ship some suppliers and I sell over $100,000 a month of their product. You're missing out on so much money. And sometimes they still don't even care. But at that point, guys, there's plenty of fish in the sea. Just keep moving forward. Don't let one supplier telling you no, make you think that every supplier in the world is going to tell you no. Because the truth is, it's not like that. Just because one supplier says no doesn't mean anything, guys. And people always ask me again, what's a profitable niche? I can honestly say that amongst my 6 stores, I'm a part of so many different niches. Like, I have 6 stores, but realistically, amongst those 6 stores, it's probably 25 different niches. And the truth is, when it comes to a niche, is that you can call, this is actually exact numbers of one of the niches I'm in, right? I made a list of 20 suppliers, called all 20 of them, closed I think 15 of them. And out of the 15 that I closed, we launched ads to all of them, and only 2 of the 15 make money. So it's like, if I would have only called, let's just say 10 suppliers in that niche, I might have only called the 10 that weren't good and might have wrote off the entire niche as a whole, right? But instead, I closed every supplier I possibly could in that niche, and 1 or 2 of them are making me all the money while the other 15 aren't making anything. So, if you're ever wondering what's a profitable niche, the answer is honestly every niche is profitable. It's just a matter of finding that supplier that can dominate for you on Google. Like I said, like we said in the beginning of the live stream, if the brand has 10 plus, 15 plus retailers on Google, then you will never dominate. You will never be able to get a lot of money off that brand. But if you close a brand that only has 2 or 3 people selling it on Google, then with our strategies, you can pretty much take over the entire Google shopping and almost at some points get almost 100% impression share, which means every time someone Googles that brand, you come up and you can start making crazy money overnight. Like we said, we have one student that literally found a supplier a few weeks ago and has almost tripled their store's sales in a month, or maybe even quadrupled, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and there's a lot of value in what you just said, Jared. One thing I do want to point out in terms of a supplier tip, and this is something that we, like Jared just said, we've been trying to preach to a couple of our students and everyone in general on some live streams, that there's really no such thing as a saturated product type. There are saturated suppliers. Like we said, if you go on Google and a supplier has 20, 25 retailers, there's no point in selling them. But just because a couple suppliers are saturated with the amount of sellers they have doesn't mean that there aren't other suppliers that can be winners in that niche. And so I don't know if that makes sense, but what I'm trying to say is, if you can do your research and say a saturated product type like refrigerators, maybe most refrigerator manufacturers have 20 to 25 retailers, but if you can find the 1, 2, 3 who only have 5, then most likely there's money to be made. And so, it's always, that's the kind of mindset that you have to have in terms of just have an open mind with really don't rule anything out when you're setting up your store. And another tip that I know Jared kind of just brushed over a little bit was, in the phone call that we make to suppliers, we always like to say that we're reaching out to other suppliers in the niche. It kind of creates a little bit of jealousy. If you can portray that confidence and you're like, listen, I know we're good at what we do. We're going to make money either with you or with your competitor. They're going to be like, oh, shoot, like, I want them to make money for us. And, that comparison it goes a long way. It doesn't have 100% success rate, but it kind of just makes sense. Like if you're hanging another supplier over their head, like, hey, we're going to make them money if you don't let us sell your products. Maybe you don't say it like that, word it in a way like that. And it does go a long way with the supplier that you're speaking to.
Yeah, don't be afraid to sound like the big boss. You know what I'm saying? Like when I call these suppliers, I'll straight up make it seem like they need to work with me. Like, guys, if you call a supplier and you're shaking in your boots, nervous, they're gonna feel it on the phone, and they're probably gonna know you're not experienced and not worth working with. But if you call a supplier and you sound like this guy with sense of urgency, who sounds like someone they want to do business with, sounds like someone that's going to bring in money. When I talk to them, I say, we can do amazing things for your brand. We can bring amazing awareness for your brand. I saw your products and thought they would fit our catalog perfectly. I know we can do $100,000 a month. I one time told a supplier that we're going to take, I said to the guy on the phone, I said, how much do you guys do a month in sales? He goes, we do about $1 million a month in sales. I said, all right, well, we're going to take you from $1 million a month to 10 million a month. And even though it was literally the most cap I've ever given on a phone call, I literally was talking completely out of my butt. The truth is, he loved every second of it and instantly wanted to work with us. And we started working with them. And obviously we don't do $9 million a month in sales with them, but we do like 40, 50K a month in sales. And it's been a very profitable partnership. And I mean, we're both very happy that we work together.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good point to make too, is that, even if you overpromise and, let's say the partnership just kind of falls flat on its face and you don't make any sales, you don't lose anything. Like maybe you'll look stupid to the one guy that you told that you were going to do maybe not $10 million in sales, but we like to say, we're gonna bring increased brand awareness, bring in a lot of sales for you. If you can't deliver on that promise, like, boo hoo, nothing happens. You learn, you move on, and you say it to the next supplier. It's really all about securing that relationship. And so, you don't want to lie and say, oh yeah, I have 10 stores that profit $300,000 a month. You don't want to lie like that, but there's nothing wrong with exaggerating and really believing in your abilities to sell their product. And so, because we have a proven system of how we run our advertisements and run our stores, we can confidently say that to suppliers and be like, listen, we've done this for other suppliers. Let us do it for you. And, I've said it before and it's fallen flat on its face. And, I've cut the supplier my ads after a month or two. But, like I said, nothing you can do besides move on to the next supplier.
Yeah. I like that you said that, like, if you don't, deliver, they're not going to come back to haunt you guys. Like that was a great point by Mike. Like you can like say whatever you need to say to close that relationship. Because once the deal is closed, then whatever happens after that, like I've never had a supplier that I've closed that since we didn't deliver said, oh, we're not going to do business with you anymore. Like it doesn't work like that. Once you close them, you're in. You're pretty much in for good. Once you get that price list and you start listing their products, they're never going to change their mind. They're never going to be indecisive. They're never going to say, oh, if you don't do 10 grand this month, we're done. Like, so say what you need to say to close them, be as confident as you can. And once you're in, at that point, you really just have to get the products up and listed on your site. And then you need to get the ads launched. And then we'll see what happens. Because, if they're not making sales for you, then we don't even care if they tell us we can't sell their products anymore because they're not making this money anyway. And if they do start making sales for you or you start making sales for them, they're going to love you because you're going to be bringing in money for them. I've had suppliers at this point, me and Mike have it systemized. So when we close a supplier, we have a team that lists the products very quickly and we get them launched quickly. And I've had numerous suppliers tell me they've never had a retailer list and launch the products as quickly as us and make sales as quickly as us. So, in the end of the day, you're either going to make money for them and they're going to love you, or you're just not going to make money for them and you're just not going to care about them.
Yeah, and I do want to give a quick story because, Jay, I'm sure you might remember the supplier I'm talking about, but I closed a supplier probably last August, started running sales. So we're coming up on a year from when I secured the partnership with them. Ran ads for, I want to say, 2.5 months, cut them in the ads completely, completely forgot about the supplier. And then like a month and a half ago, I get a phone call from a customer, asking about the supplier. And so that can happen even if you're not running ads, just from, SEO or, the product was out of stock. And so they called me because, I might have said it was still in stock on the website. Like I said, I completely forgot about them. Wind up making the sale. They were willing to wait the back order time. I called the supplier. I'm like, hey, like, I don't know if you remember me. Like, we spoke back in like August or September of last year. And they're like, oh, yeah, hey, I remember you. Like, I don't think you made any sales for us. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. But we did just have one come in. And they're like, oh, great. Like, send over the purchase order. Like, we'll get it processed in line. And I was like, all right. And, part of me was expecting them to say, oh, like, you can't just, it doesn't really work like that. But it really does work like that. They're not going to say no to someone who brings them a sale. So just to kind of pile on to what we were saying before.
Yeah. My first sale ever in high ticket dropshipping, it was actually a complete like mistake. Like the product actually wasn't even a real product. It was like I listed the product completely incorrectly. Like everything was wrong. The supplier didn't even allow us to sell that product. And here I am sending him in the order and he's like, what the heck is this? But, he ended up letting us sell the product and we ended up working together in the future. So, guys, just, don't overthink it. Don't think that don't think that this is life or death. Don't think that these suppliers are these serious people. They're really just regular people that work they work a 9 to 5, they work a corporation, and you're just trying to get in with it. It's the less serious you take it, the more fun you have with it, the more you'll close suppliers, honestly. Like, it's crazy to say this, but like if you call and you sound like a robot and you sound nervous or you're so serious, like they're not going to take you seriously. But if you just call them and you let them know what you're about, you let them know that you're having fun with it, you're just confident, like you're going to close a supplier, no questions asked. So, just don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take life too seriously. At the end of the day, it's a numbers game. As long as you're confident, and obviously, like, we give scripts to our mentees. So if you're confident with what you say, like, none of our mentees, we haven't had any students tell us that they can't close suppliers. Every single one of our students is closing suppliers. So, if you're watching this and you're thinking about joining, then, like I said, we'll show you the best ways to close suppliers. But yeah, like I said, just don't take it too serious. Just have fun with it. And yeah, you'll get plenty of yeses.
It comes. I think the best way to put it is that people can feel energy. It's obviously easier to tell someone when you're seeing them in person, but even over the phone, like, you can hear in someone's voice if they're, say, taking it too seriously, or if they're scared to death and they don't even know what to say, or they don't even know what they're talking about. That kind of stuff people will get a sense of, and so I definitely think it gets easier over time to feel more comfortable on the phone and all of this stuff. I think it's a pretty cool concept, like Jared said, that we're calling into offices, to like office buildings, like real businesses, real corporations who have a secretary. They transfer you over. They're like right next to each other, and like I said on the last live stream, it's me in my pajamas trying to close this huge manufacturer that does like $1 million of sales every month. And once you get over that and you're able to have confidence in yourself, your own abilities, and in your business, I think it also goes a long way. If you genuinely believe that you can make sales for this company, then they'll be able to feel that. And so it's half fake it till you make it, and it's also half really believe in it, and it'll happen.
Yeah. One thing that's important to note too is, when you start off, you just have a demo site, right? Like, the way we teach it is you create your demo site and then you call suppliers. But once you close your first or second supplier, you no longer have a demo site, you have a real site. These are real partnerships, real products. And as you can imagine, that makes it easier to close suppliers as time progresses. And then guess what? You go from real products to launching ads. Now you have real sales, real numbers, real experience. Now you actually know what you're talking about. You know the business. You understand, even if it's a different niche, right? Like, I can sell any niche at this point, because at the end of the day, the principles of business are the same, right? The only difference is the product description, understanding the product. When you join a new niche, you're never going to know the product until months after selling it, because there's just so many different things, so many different questions. You'll just never know, right? But the beautiful part is that if you can sell one product successfully, you can sell any product successfully, because it's the same principles always. It's the same tactics. Everything's the same. That's why I've been able to be successful in 6 different stores across, like I said, 20 something different niches, because in the end of the day, selling a product online is the same. There's no difference. It's the same methods. It's, everything about it is the same. The only difference is the product description, the details of the product. And that, like I said, as much as that stuff sounds intimidating, if you sell a product online for months, then guess what? You're going to have so many customers, so many questions, that you're going to eventually know everything about this product that you've never even physically seen, which is one of the most fascinating things of, today's date. And that's why, I say, if you're not making money online, if you're not selling online, you're missing out on the biggest opportunity of 2020, of just this whole decade, and last decade even. But, the past is the past. All we have now is the present and then the future. So, obviously I'm not saying you need to follow us or you need to drop ship high ticket, but I will say that if you're not learning how to sell online, then you're missing out on $1 trillion pie. Not billion, but trillion.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't see the potential in online and internet selling by now, especially after this pandemic, then, I think you need to open your eyes a little bit, because like Jared said, it's even been the past decade where, the internet has really started to take over. But I mean, I can't imagine any scenario where it would stop and turn around and, the internet would crash and everything goes back to in store. And so, whether you're selling a physical product, whether you're selling a digital product like an ebook or a course or a podcast, you need to make sure that you're getting your piece of the pie. And another thing that I want to kind of talk about that Jared summed up without saying it is the real skills that you're also building in the process when you put together a high ticket store. And so what do I mean by that is, it's one thing to have the AliExpress, the products, the Facebook ads, and the quick, no customer service, all of that. But when you really consider all aspects of high ticket dropshipping, the forming an actual LLC, which is obviously a business venture in and of itself, calling USA manufacturers, learning how to put together a website, learning how to run Google ads, like these are valuable high income skills that can bring you money that you can use over time in so many different aspects of life. We'll save the Google ads talk for another video, but the idea that you can put a product, whether physical or digital, in front of someone searching for it is kind of crazy to me. And just one example that I thought of the other day is, let's say you find a way to manufacture like custom jerseys. You order a bunch of jerseys from AliExpress, you hold them, and you make a website where people can put whatever they want on the jerseys. And this, like I said, this is a business idea that came to me a couple of days ago. You can literally make a Google ad, a search ad for people looking for customizable NBA, NFL jerseys. Something like that. If people are searching for it and you're putting a website or a product or whatever it is in front of them, like you're giving yourself money. And so that's what I mean by building high valuable skills. Obviously we're talking about suppliers in this video. Learning how to communicate, learning how to sell to people is a valuable skill. If you can say, I always use refrigerator as an example. If you can sell a refrigerator to a customer who calls in, then you can sell anything. And it's really all about evolving as a person. And I love what high ticket dropshipping has given to me in that aspect. And it looks like I may have lost Jared. We'll see if he... But yeah, like I said, high income skills. Jared and I have made a video.
Can you hear me?
I got you now. You're back? I can hear you. I'm not sure you can hear me. Give him a sec.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It just literally just went out. I haven't touched anything.
Okay, well, like I said, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good. Can you?
I can hear you. I haven't touched anything. It keeps going in and out.
All right, well, I mean, even if we can't see you, that wouldn't be the end of the world. I don't think anybody wants to see you anyway.
What the hell, man? What the fuck?
Yeah, Oaks, we can hear you, kid.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going in and out. I don't know what's going on. I keep coming in and out for whatever reason.
Okay. Well, like I said, we can hear you. Yeah, I think that was just it was a waste of a great story on my end, but regardless, I'll just Jared, you can hear us? All right. Jared's gonna leave and rejoin. Can you guys drop something in the chat? Can you hear me? Can you not? I hear you, Jared.
Hello, hello.
Hello. All right. Well, I guess I'll just continue on from here. Jared?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can still hear you. Yep. There he is.
It keeps freezing. I don't know what's going on with this, man.
You got that Walmart, that dummy connection.
I don't know if it's the Google. There you go. Are we in? Are we back?
We're good. All right, so we'll continue on.
This connection is ruining the live stream.
No. Yep. All right, Jared. Well, I may have lost you. So I'm gonna start with some questions. Hopefully, he can join us whenever he's ready. Um, but so we talked about Abdallah. Do they play hard to get? Yes, they play hard to get, but you know, like I said before, sometimes them playing hard to get is a sign that they're a good supplier. So, if they ask a lot of questions and they want to know a lot about you and your business, that can be a pretty good thing. Because, like I said before, if they're just letting any Joe show a product,
What is going on?
if maybe that's not a supplier you really want to work with. But that being said, where they didn't ask me anything, closed them right away, and I just got in at a good time. And so I was the first one on Google. I was pushing their ads, and like I said, they're one of my top performing suppliers right now. And I guess my point is, take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes you want that high barrier of entry, but just because they sign on easily, as long as there's not a whole lot of competition, you can win. And Google Ads is tricky because, not tricky, but it's kind of straightforward, where if people are running Google Ads and making sales, then you can do the same. It just comes down to, the issue is when there are 10 to 15 retailers for a supplier, you're going head to head for the bidding. And, that's going to raise the price that you have to pay for a sale. And so, listen, that's kind of where you find the line of, am I remaining profitable? Because as long as you're profitable, then you should be able to scale that up to a point where, even if you're only profiting after your ad spend, $150 or $200, you can always kind of just, the way we think about it is up the budget and it'll compound. And hopefully the more you raise the budget and the more you spend, you'll duplicate your profitability. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Do they prefer working with offline stores? So a lot of suppliers they're very loyal to their brick and mortar, and that's something that you'll come across is they'll only want to work with brick and mortar stores. Every time a supplier tells me, "Oh yeah, we only work with brick and mortar stores who hold inventory," I have to I'm firm with them. I let them know, do you know how much money you're leaving on the table by not selling online? And I've actually had this conversation last week with so I've had a lot of success in this product type, and so I went after this product type's competition, who had zero Google presence, but I know that their product was good because customers were calling in asking if we carried their product. And so, like I said, they had absolutely no Google presence, and I was like, listen, do you guys know how much money you're leaving on the table? And in the beginning of the conversation, she was like, yeah, we're not really interested in adding online people. We want physical retailers. And after I don't want to say I was mean, I was very firm. And I was giving them, genuine business advice because like we said before, if you can't tell that online and internet selling is the not only the present but the future, then you got to open your eyes a little bit. And this is something that I explained to this supplier, and I think by the end of the conversation, she was much more receptive to the idea, and she was like, all right, I have your information here. Let me talk it over with the co-owner, and we'll get back to you. And, I think that kind of confidence, and it's not only confidence in online selling, but confidence in the Google Ads system, where it's I know if they let us sell their product, I will make them a lot of money, especially for the supplier, something that I guaranteed. But next.
Wait, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Jared. You back?
Yes, I'm back. That a little hiatus, a little loss of connection, but that never hurt anybody.
All right, yeah. I mean, I was just kind of going through some of the questions while you were gone. I think we lost some viewers, but no, we're good. We're back. I'm trying to think where we left off.
I know you were telling a story, and just so you guys are aware, this whole business model is so much deeper than just drop shipping, right? Like you can run Google ads for any company out there. You understand supplier relations. It just goes so much further. That was Mike's story. It was a great story. And I know we personally have
Yes.
done things for other companies to help them improve as well. So,
Exactly. And like I said before, Jared, is right before you came in, I was just saying, like, you can really help these companies who, if their online marketing is out of whack, then you could really help take them above and beyond. And I believe in our system so much that I even proposed to one of my suppliers recently, combining our stores essentially and letting us go exclusive with their brand. And I made a lot of great points, like one, the customer service aspect of it, and two, just how good we are at advertising. Because if there's one thing I know, it's if you can ever go exclusive with a supplier and where you're the only people selling it, you're looking at a pretty big gold mine, at the end of the day.
yeah. I mean, listen, there has to be the mix of, exclusivity and the fact that the supplier needs to have demand first, right? Like, in the end of the day, guys, you got to remember this. You can take this drop shipping company to $1 billion, right? And as much as it sounds crazy, think about it like Wayfair. They started off as just a drop shipping store. That's all they were. And then, they found big with a few suppliers, just like we did. And they took it to the next level. They started warehousing. And, once you start warehousing, think about it like this. In the old days, you had to warehouse to start a business. You had no choice. But these days, you can drop ship, find out what you know is going to sell. Once you've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of inventory or millions of dollars, you know that product is going to continue to sell for probably years to come. You can start warehousing that product, get much better margins, and then start growing from, our companies that collectively do $6-7 million a year to a company that could potentially do 100 million a year. And, this is just the first step, guys. Like, this is really as big business as it gets online, as legitimate business as it gets online. There's no scamming involved, no upcharging involved. Literally creating a real retailer, a real online business that can eventually grow to $1 billion company if you wanted to take it to that level. There's really no limit, guys. Like there's a lot of business models out there that don't have the potential that this business model does, and we know that from experience.
Yeah, and I mean, what we tell people when they're first starting off is, imagine yourself starting a mini Wayfair, and I see that Jonathan said Wayfair Illuminati confirmed. Aside from whatever's going on with Wayfair, and I don't know, I hope nothing's bad actually is going on, but at the end of the day, in this business model, you actually have the potential to eventually take that next step. And so when you first start off, yes, you're a mini Wayfair, you're selling these other brands, and you're drop shipping, because most of Wayfair is drop shipped minus their private labeled products. But yeah, I mean, me and Jared have spoken about it before, kind of half joking, kind of serious. Like, for our really winning suppliers, we could, let's say we find a venture capitalist to give us a fat loan where we can warehouse their products and double the margins and go from there. And that's really how you take that next step into the Wayfair level. And that's just a lot of high ticket drop shippers won't think like that. Like I've said before, Jared and I are big thinkers, and we're always thinking in every business we take up and any life in general. We're always thinking, how can we take it to the biggest level possible? Because if someone else is taking it to that level, then there's no reason that you can't take it to that level. If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, are there any other questions? So I see Bayesian Ting, do you have API integration with your suppliers? The answer to that question is no. Everything we do as of right now is manual, but maybe one day we'll have some sort of EDI system or something where we can automatically just place orders like the big guys do. I see Sleazy F. How many dials a day equals success when you start calling suppliers? Sleazy, that's a great question. And the answer, honestly, it could be one dial. It could be 100. Like, honestly, I've had days where I called 5 suppliers and closed all 5. I've had days where I called 10 suppliers and got no's from all 10. And then the 11th was the big winner. So, I mean, it's a numbers game at the end of the day, guys. As long as you're contacting suppliers consistently, as long as you're actually sticking to the scripts and getting to work, then you will close suppliers. As long as you're doing everything we tell you to do, you will close suppliers. And the more you call, the more you'll close by naturally, just by law, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, what it's called the law of averages, right, Jared?
Yeah, that's
Where it's
exactly
like,
what it is.
you know, the more you keep doing it, the better chance you're going to give yourself. And I guess in like a bigger sense, it's like the same thing. One with calling suppliers, but two with testing the suppliers in your ads. You know, if you're testing a lot of suppliers in your Google ads, eventually, you know, you're bound to find the ones that are going to come along that are either profitable on a small scale or profitable on a huge scale. And so this is something that we've mentioned in past videos, and obviously a lot to our mentees, that every supplier needs to be looked at as its own stream of income, where, you know, if you can find profitable suppliers, even if they're just minimally profitable, if you can compound those together, you can make for a super profitable store. And, you know, that's something that I guess is another mindset tack, where it's like you don't necessarily need to be looking for one supplier to just blow up and, you know, make you $20,000 in profit. And that's kind of more of like a low ticket game in terms of, you know, going viral. It's not that crazy to find a profitable supplier, is what I'm getting at here. It's not like you're playing the lotto where it's like, all right, I'm going to test this product and pray to God it goes viral where 1 million people will see it. I don't want it to come across as that insane to find a profitable supplier, because it's really not, especially nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, there's really just endless opportunity out there. I mean, listen, if you close 15 to 20 suppliers, chances are your store will be making good money. I mean, one of our clients has, I think, 8 suppliers, and he's making, you know, 15, 20 grand a month in sales. Like, you know, it's really a numbers game, guys. If you have 30, 40 suppliers on your store, chances are your store's gonna be doing well over 10 grand a month profit. I mean, most of our stores get there before we even get 30 suppliers. We usually get there within 15 to 20 suppliers. So it really is possible. And anyway, this really is the business that will create, you know, long-term success, because once you find that winning partnership, you know, there's really no telling how long it will last. And guess what? Next thing you know, you find a second one. Now you have 2 of them, 3, 4, 5. Next thing you know, you have, you know, one supplier makes you 10 grand a month, one makes you 2 grand a month, one makes you 5 grand a month, and then collectively you're making 30, 40 grand a month profit. And, you know, that's really exactly how we do it. You know, I guess the question we never answered is, what do you do once you close suppliers? And obviously a lot of people out there are teaching Facebook ads, but that is not what we teach. Once you close suppliers, the most effective way to market them is with Google. Mike, if you wanted to even touch up on that a little bit.
Yeah, and so I think, you know, down the road we'll get a little bit more into Google ads, but just to kind of sum it up very briefly, is that we will create 2 kind of campaigns, where one is people searching the generic product type. So, you know, let's say you're selling, I always say refrigerator. I'm going to use refrigerator again. People searching refrigerator, kitchen refrigerator, 80-inch high refrigerator. That's a generic term. The other hand of it is the branded. You know, it's people searching for the manufacturers that you are carrying. And so we have a method to kind of work it out, where you can, obviously you want your branded campaign to do most of the spending, because just think about how much warmer traffic, how deeper in the sales funnel you are. You know, in a generic campaign, people are just starting to trying to do their research on the supplier they want to buy, which is like here. Whereas the generic, it's like people most likely already did. You're skipping the hard part of getting them to buy from your supplier. They already know the supplier, so they're searching it in Google, which is, you know, where most people who don't buy from Amazon, majority are buying on Google. Search it. Next thing you know, your ad appears. And what do you know? Like, they're searching for an LG refrigerator, and your ad for an LG refrigerator shows in front of their eyes. And so I hope you guys kind of understand how warm of traffic, and how it's not that hard to convert on a $2,000 product, when one, they're searching for the supplier you're carrying, they're searching for the product type with the supplier you're searching, And three, like I mentioned before, they most likely have enough money to buy that product if one, they're seeing your ad, and two, they're searching for it. So, those are kind of the things to consider when doing Google ads. There's obviously a whole lot that goes into it, which, we obviously say for our mentees, but I hope that kind of gives a good general of idea of how exactly it is we do our advertising.
Yeah, I mean that's the beautiful part about what we teach and the high ticket model in general is like the low ticket. It's like you're trying so hard to sell these people on a product, but with what we teach, it's like we're really just filling a need, guys. Like people just need a product, they Google it, and we're just filling that need. We're just the person. It's almost like you're waiting and you're attracting the customer as opposed to trying to chase after the customer. Everyone will always tell you attracting is always better than chasing. And that's exactly what we're doing here is we're simply attracting the customer. They have a need, they have a product, and they're finding us. And ultimately, as long as your site is good, as long as everything looks nice, as long as your customer service is good, as long as you're listening to everything we say, honestly, then you are going to make sales, guys. I mean, really, the money you spend on advertising is really only for customers that want to buy the product. And that's the biggest benefit of this business is the fact that, you're only spending on customers that want to buy it and the margins are big. Last but not least, Google retargeting, Facebook retargeting is one thing, but Google retargeting is a scary thing. Once you start running Google retargeting ads, it's like people come to your site once and then everywhere they go online, they're going to find your website. So, once you're running retargeting, once you're driving a lot of traffic, there's really no reason why you should go days without making sales. At this point, me and Mike make sales every single day without fail. I mean, I can confidently bet every single day I will make at least between all my stores around 20 something sales at this point.
Then, that's also the power of compounding. It's not like Jared started drop shipping last week and he's making 20 sales a day. It's the power of, like I said, compounding your manufacturers, compounding your knowledge of the business. Because, the more about the business that you're in, the better you'll be able to not only believe in it, but like sell, like we're talking about suppliers on what it is exactly you do. So, trust the process is something that we always will tell anyone who wants to get started in this business is trust the process, believe in the process. Don't just jump in without knowing what you're doing. And, that's our hope with, making these videos that we can educate people on what it is exactly that we do. And I see that we skipped over Wee Jones. He said, how much money do I need to start budget-wise? And so we usually recommend $1,000 to $3,000. It depends on, obviously you need to start an LLC, like I said. So that's something you need to account for. But besides that, I mean, Shopify is like, $29 a month. It really just comes down to Google ads. And as long as you're doing the process correctly, we can never guarantee that you're going to make sales after a certain amount of time. But as long as you're finding suppliers, like we've talked about in this video, that have less than 10 retailers, have a MAP policy, which isn't something we touched upon, Jared, right? I don't think we've talked about MAP policy in this particular video. But just to kind of give a quick explanation of what it is, MAP stands for Minimum Advertising Price. And so most of our best suppliers enforce this MAP policy. It essentially creates a level playing field for all retailers. Because, if anyone can sell the product at any price, then you're going to have all the retailers undercutting each other until next thing you know, there's no margin. And, there's no margin, then there's no point in spending money in advertising. So that is something that we really, really look for. And it's an easy thing to search for. You search in Google, you search one of the supplier's products, and, you see all the retailers have it listed, or majority of the retailers listed at the same exact or pretty much the same price, give or take, the 99 cents, then you better believe they have a MAP policy. So, not to say that you can't make money with suppliers that don't enforce a MAP, because, we have. It's almost like there's an expiration date on that supplier, because if enough people get selling them and, everyone's undercutting each other, then it's going to get to a point where it's just not worth it to keep spending money on advertising when you're not making it back in the sales.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the thing. If you work with a supplier without map, you can make what I call quick and petty cash, but very quickly, someone's going to come around and undercut you, and that's going to be the end of that.
It's gonna be the end of the supplier, and it's frustrating, when there's been times where Jared used the word petty cash. I like that. You make a quick buck, and you can tell that people really want this product and they believe in the product, and it's almost like a waste to the suppliers where they're doing it. Their retailers a disservice, and so I guess to a supplier, if they were just looking out for the money and they were only looking at the sales, and yeah, they'd be like, my retailers can sell my products at whatever they want. But enforcing a MAP policy is, the way I look at it, is the manufacturer's way of looking out for their retailers. 'Cause like I said, it's all about that level playing field where if I'm not profiting, then I'm not going to want to sell your product, and that also comes into play. Looking out for your retailers when it comes to allowing new retailers. I have a supplier who I work with, like Jared said, people call them to sell their product. They're like, sorry, we already have too many people selling our product. And, I can really appreciate a supplier doing that and, being like, all right, we have to draw the line. There's too many people selling. It's getting too crazy in the ads. And, that's the kind of relationship you ultimately want to be in.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, in the end of the day, if you want a long-term relationship, they have to have MAP, But in the end of the day, that doesn't mean that you only can work with suppliers that have MAP. You can still work with ones that don't. Don't be surprised if any of this stuff happens. But yeah, you can make some good money quickly, especially if you're first getting started. It's always good to get your cash flow up because that'll only just make you more motivated to keep growing the company.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said before, you're always learning. You're always getting better in the business, which is really what it's all about. Yawn Breakers said, do you lose money on returns for these other companies' products? So when a customer returns a product, we send it right back to the manufacturer. It's not like we are now held liable for that product where, like I said, I work out of the house, out of like my family's house. I'm not going to bring over a big product and store it in the basement. So many times manufacturers do have a restocking fee where, they have to kind of almost refurbish the product, and sometimes they can't sell it as new. So they have that. Usually it's around 20%, but that's why we put in our company's policy that in the return policy, you're going to be subject to a restocking fee if you want to return the product. And it's also not to say that if a product arrives damaged, that the customer is responsible, because that's something that we obviously portray to our customers, that if anything comes damaged in any way, that you're going to be compensated, whether it's with a discount, a partial refund that you're happy with, or exchanging the product. That's another thing that we'll look out for in manufacturers, and that I'll ask about their warranty policy, because at the end of the day, you have to put your customers first. If you're trying to scam people and you're looking for a quick buck, then that's just not the proper foundations you want for your business. And that's why I always say I'll even lose money on returns. And I'm actually in the middle of a situation right now where we had the wrong image on our website for a product. It was something so minuscule, but the restocking fee is going to cost us around $700. And so, they're exchanging it. And so I'm pretty much going to break even on a $5,000 sale, because I'm putting the customer first and I'm saying, listen, we messed up. I'm going to eat the restocking fee. And, maybe I left $750 of profit on the table, but, I feel better about doing that just by being a good businessman, I guess I'm trying to say. And, it's also a trait thing where it's like my conscience won't feel good if I'm scumming customers,
Yeah, I mean, guys, don't let the idea of losing on returns or refunds stop you. At every business I've been a part of, the returns and the refunds, they don't come close to the profit. As long as you do it right, you're not gonna go negative, right? So, guys like Mike and myself, we don't mind returns. Obviously, we don't like them, but we deal with them because that's the trade-off. It's at this point it's an operating expense. So yeah, if you're thinking about getting started, don't let the idea of having a big return stop you, because the percentage of returns are very small compared to the percentage of sales almost always.
It's also like your level of thinking. Like if you're concentrating that much on, returns here and there, you're thinking too small, and it's gonna show at the end of the day on your business where, and that's why me and Jared always say when it comes to people penny pinch, and people have that same kind of mindset about money where it's scarce. And so if you have that mindset, and you have a return and you're freaking out about it, it's going to show and you're going to make less sales. You have to have that abundance mindset. So the way that we think about it is, yes, it sucks to have an order returned. It sucks to have someone cancel an order. But the way we think of it is we just need to make that back triple of what it would have been. And so, when you have that positive mindset, the connotation behind positive mindset is kind of corny in my opinion, but it's really that abundance mindset where it's like, yes, I'll have to deal with this return, but I'll just make it back in the next one. And, that's kind of how you have to always think about not only business, but life in general. When you lose something, just stay as positive as possible, because what do you gain out of being negative and dwelling on the negative? Like, yes, it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy to stay positive in unfortunate situations, but at the end of the day, it's really important for your own mental health that you focus on the positive and you see the glass half full rather than the glass half empty. I'm not sure if you have anything to comment, Jared. I know Jordan Griffin said, any tips for closing suppliers? Jordan, I don't know if you just chimed in now, but at the end of the stream, go back to the beginning. We put a lot of tips in there in terms of confidence and all that good stuff. We have an LLC, EIN, and sales tax ID coming in soon. Is there anything else we need for legal info? Also, any tips for closing suppliers? Jared, yes, I think. Yeah. Jared's a legal guy.
You need a registered what's it called?
Resale certificate.
Resale certificate. Yep, you need that. It's the permit that will allow them to not have to charge you tax to states that aren't the one they're in. So you definitely need that as well, Jordan. Definitely call your state website to get it. As far as tips for closing, we left a lot of golden nuggets in this stream. We do have a lot more tips that is in our course. So I mean, obviously, Jordan, I do know, you've messaged me on Instagram. I know you've been part of these live streams. So yeah, we left a lot of great info in the stream. So watch it. And if you do want more, then obviously join the mentorship, because we put a lot in the course video.
Yeah, and I've said this before, and I will continue saying it every time I talk about sales. But if you've never heard of the book, I'm trying to think about having it on my bookshelf. I do. Here it is. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie is just a great book overall. Like I said, it sounds corny, how to win friends, but it's not like that. It gives so many great tips for not only selling people, but building relationships with people. Like at the end of the day, I think the relationships that you form to, kind of have a big impact on your happiness. And so, obviously you want to form good relationships with people even outside of business, and that book gives some really great tips. Since we're talking about closing I'm hearing an echo. Okay. No, I think it's good now. It's good. Since we're talking about closing suppliers, one tip that's in there is people love talking about themselves. So if you can get it to a point where people are talking about themselves and talking about their situation, then they're going to feel a better connection to you. That's the number one thing people love talking about. So if you can find a way, you're on the phone with the supplier and find a way to ask something about them personally, or ask something about something broad and have them go into detail, then it's crazy powerful. So that's one tip. And the other tip is, I think they mentioned in the book, like subconsciously, people love hearing that you remember their names. So if you can casually slip their name into conversation, it actually goes a long way. Something as simple as, any of the conversation as, all right, sounds good, I'll follow up via email. Instead, you can say, all right, Jared, sounds good, I'll follow up via email. Something like that also helps build that personal connection, which I think goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, everything Mike said was exactly correct. Yawn Breakers, is the course and the mentorship the same price? Well, first of all, Yawn Breakers, we appreciate that you appreciate our live videos.
Yeah,
But
not a lot of people watch our, we don't have crazy amount of viewers. We have 13 watching right now, but, we
not
definitely,
yet.
not yet. Like Jared said, though, we really appreciate, you guys following us, and obviously all of these questions, we love helping people. So, Jared, you can.
Yeah. So, is the course and mentorship the same price? So, as of right now, yes. The answer to that is yes. $97 a month, you get both. I understand. What if I just want to buy the course? So, we will be pretty soon. We will be selling only the course, which will probably be $1,000, one flat price. But I definitely, highly, highly recommend if you want to do this business. $97 a month is much better than paying $1,000 flat just for a course. One, it'll take you over 10 months to spend $1,000 at $97 a month. Two, you're not just getting the course, you're getting access to messaging both Mike and I at any time. You're getting access to our entire group chat, our entire community, and you're getting the videos. So, the biggest value in that is obviously getting the chance to message Mike and I. I promise you, I've taken many courses and I've also worked with mentors. And working with mentors is far more valuable than just having a course. You're going to watch the videos and you're still going to have questions. And if you just have a course, you're not going to have anyone to ask those questions to. When you have mentors, you can ask every question you want to us. I see you said 97 a month. I'm game. Hell yeah, that's cheap. Yep. So the link is in the description, guys. If you want to work with us, we have a 4-day free trial that comes with all the videos. Once the trial ends, then you get a private group chat with Mike and I, along with a group chat with all the other members. We give you everything you need to succeed. We answer every question you need us to answer. If you need to hop on a call, we'll hop on a call. We really do, treat our members like family. And yeah, that's how it is. We don't want it to just be a mentorship. We really want it to be a community. We really want to create a place for people to be able to talk business, entrepreneurship, and learn from each other, get value. And I mean, honestly, as of right now, I love all of our members. It's been a great experience so far, and I'm sure Yawn Breakers, if you join, you'll have a great experience as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, obviously, like Jared said, the mentorship is very valuable. People have questions about their specific store. We'll answer it. But I also think, the community is. I love it personally because everyone is so uplifting. I know everyone who's watching in the community right now, they can kind of speak on it themselves. That we have a couple people who are already making good sales and making some good profit, and they'll post a screenshot in the group for inspiration, not to brag, and everyone gets not only inspired, but they're uplifting, and it's really awesome to see like-minded individuals. So one of the reasons that we wanted to start something like this was because you always hear people talk about how important it is to surround yourself with people who are going to uplift you. And it's when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's really not easy to find people who think like you and think about business like that. At least speaking for myself, it's tough to come by those people. And so it's really awesome that we have a place now where you are instantly access to a group of people who all have the same goals. And like I said before, I love connecting with people. I especially love connecting with people who think and act the same as I do. So I think the community aspect is something to also really consider.
Yeah. IB, we skipped that one. So this is a good question. If a supplier asks you to fill out a credit application, then you need to explain to them that you will be purchasing prepaid via credit card. So we are not taking out any lines of credit. If they ask you to fill out a credit application, then you are not going to do it, because that is not how we are doing this. Like, a credit application would be if you owned a warehouse and you wanted them to send you $100,000 worth of inventory pretty much for free. That would be a credit application. What you need is to just give them your credit card information, and then you can begin selling their products, because you're not going to buy it until after you sell it. So you need to let them know it's a win-win for them, because you're only going to have them ship products you already pay for. There's no extending lines of credit. You're paying them, and then they're shipping it. Essentially, you're just going to be a customer for them. That's what I try to explain to some of these suppliers, is that I just want to be a customer for you. But instead of buying one product, I want to buy $1 million worth over the span of, a few years or months or whatever the case is.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if we have any other questions. I see Jordan said, yep, I have that book. I also have the book, The Psychology of Persuasion. I also have heard of The Psychology of Persuasion. And I think, like I said, one thing that I was fascinated by with just How to Win Friends, I've heard of that book, I've never read it, is consumer psychology. It's really an awesome idea to kind of understand how buyers think. There's always the popular thing that we do on our stores is ending product prices in 9.99 cents or 0.95 cents. It's pretty cool that something like that will really could make a decision in a buyer's head. Scarcity, letting a customer know, hey, there's only 2 of these left in stock. I suggest you get your order in to reserve one. Something like that, it goes a long way. And obviously customer service and selling it's probably something for a whole nother live stream, but if you can learn as much about consumer psychology as possible, you'll reap the benefits. Jay, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I see Jordan put one more question. I guess we'll wrap it up with this one. Any tips for Google ads with Facebook? It's pretty easy to go from 0 to 100K in 30 days. I don't know where you saw that or how you figure that. I know as in high ticket, it takes a while to get the ball rolling with new stores. Typically, it really depends on the supplier. As Mike can confirm, we've had suppliers that we've honestly done 0 to 50K or even more in 30 days. So it really does depend on the supplier. A really good supplier can honestly start making money right away. But yeah, there is no quick way to go about it. There's a lot of scaling involved with removing negative keywords and other types of things.
Yeah, it's I kind of explained it before between the generic and branded campaign. That's really as best as I can explain it without showing you our tutorials, because it just gets really complicated. The rest of it is just super complicated. If I had more tips for you, Jordan, I would. But like I said, I could sit here and talk for hours about the strategy of it. And I think, when you said 0 to 100K in 30 days with Facebook ads, like Jared said, that's kind of crazy. But when you see people doing that, it's more of you're playing the lottery. You have to go viral. And, I'm sure a lot of people know how hard it is to go viral. And this is something that, Jared and I spoke about right before we hopped on the live stream was, anytime you're in a business model where you're rolling the dice of going viral and, having it blow up on the internet, that's not you don't want to take those chances. And so, yes, when it comes to high ticket, it may be a longer process because, you're building a real business. Like I said, you're securing supplier relationships. You're finding out what works. And, I see you said here, I've done 0 to 100K in 30 days with Facebook ads, but with low ticket, I spent over $200,000 on Facebook. So if you guys need any tips for retargeting, I can help. I appreciate that. Like I said, we have our Facebook retargeting, but the other part of it is Facebook is super expensive. We've said before, I'm pretty sure they charge you for impressions, whereas Google only charges you for clicks. But yeah, that's all I can really say on that. If you guys have any more questions, any more broad questions I can help with, obviously let me know. Jared, I don't know if you want to add anything.
You have refunds policy. Quick answer, yes. Shopify will generate a refund policy, terms of service policy, privacy policy. Just Google that, and they'll make one with your store name. But yeah, I think that's enough to wrap.
Yeah, also something to note in terms of refund policy, sometimes suppliers have their own refund policy. So I've seen suppliers who don't accept returns, and don't accept returns on non-damaged products. And so if you run into a situation like that, you definitely need to make it known on that product page, hey, if you buy this, all sales are final unless it's damaged. But yeah, like Jared said, I think that pretty much covers most of everything that we kind of wanted to talk about in terms of suppliers. I hope we were able to get across to you guys how important it is to deal with United States manufacturers and just how much better it is to do it that way. Jared, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I'd say overall it's a good stream, and
Yeah.
we'll see you guys next one. Obviously, again, if you want to take your dropshipping business to the next level, if you're doing high ticket dropshipping and want mentorship, the link is in the description. We are offering 4 days free. Someone like you, Jordan, I mean, you'll get a lot more out of the $97 a month plan than you will just, searching YouTube or Google for answers. So,
Yeah. So
anyone else watching this, if you guys want to join our program right now, like I said, 4 days free. You get access to all our content. Once the free trial ends, we throw you in the group chat with us, and then we throw you in another group chat with all the members. You'll really get everything you need to succeed, guys. And I mean, hopefully, you'll be able to put the work in and find success yourself like we have.
Yeah. Thank you guys. As I said before, we appreciate you following along with the live streams. If you subscribe to us, thank you. Turn on the post notifications. If you like these live streams and you want to get notified every time we do it, turn on the post notifications. Please like, subscribe, comment anything you want to see us talk about in the future, and we'll get to it. So thank you guys.